Back in 2016, when Westworld first hit screens, it didn't take long to catch fire. Both audiences and critics jumped on it, and honestly, most people believed it was going to be HBO's next big thing. Something that could eventually step in for Game of Thrones in both popularity and storytelling depth. The first season checked all the boxes. It had everything a viewer could want: mystery, layered characters, a thought-provoking narrative, and yeah, a ton of mind-blowing twists. But as things unfolded, the hype started to fade. The network and creators ended up pulling the plug, and Westworld was canceled. So what happened? How did a series that started out so strong end up falling apart? That's exactly what we're breaking down today. The idea behind the series came from the 1973 sci-fi movie of the same name, written and directed by Michael Crichton. The film was about a futuristic theme park with a Wild West vibe, populated entirely by humanoid robots. Wealthy guests could live out their wildest fantasies. No consequences, no judgment, no morality, just violence, power, and indulgence. At the time, the movie was a huge success, earning back more than 8 times its budget and getting praise from critics. That success sparked follow-ups like Westworld in 1976 and a short-lived TV spin-off, Beyond Westworld in 1980. But neither could recapture the magic. They were commercial flops. After that, nobody really wanted to touch the Westworld concept again, until 2011. That's when Warner Brothers went through a management shift, and legendary producer Jerry Weintraub, the guy behind the Ocean's 11 series, pitched the idea of reviving Westworld for modern TV. And for that, he tapped Jonathan Nolan. The goal? Take that old-school concept and turn it into something big, bold, and binge-worthy. A dark, cerebral, prestige series that could also pull in a mainstream crowd. And it worked. Season 1 dropped, and people lost their minds. The first season had a central mystery: the man in black roaming the Westworld park, searching for the secret of the maze. Meanwhile, characters like Dolores, Bernard, and Maeve were all trapped in their own versions of that same maze, symbolically tied to questions about consciousness, free will, and what it really means to be alive.
Then there was Dr. Robert Ford, played masterfully by Anthony Hopkins, pulling the strings from behind the scenes. He wasn't just building a theme park, he was running a philosophical experiment. And here's the excited genius part. The season was built with a perfect 3-act structure, beginning, middle, and end, designed to deliver payoff and surprise. And oh man, what a payoff. The big twist? That the man in black was actually William, and that half of what we've been watching were flashbacks to events from 30 years ago. And the best part? Most people didn't even realize it until the very end. So casual, yeah, the result was massive. The show scored a 93% audience score and 87% from critics. Each episode was pulling in over 1.8 million viewers. Westworld wasn't just a hit, it was a phenomenon. And at the time, people genuinely thought it could be the next Game of Thrones. But that didn't happen. When it came time to write Season 2, the creators faced a major challenge. How do you top that first season twist? How do you deliver another huge reveal without repeating the same trick? The answer? Try to get even more complex. Maybe too complex. They once again played with dual timelines, but this time the mystery was gone. The show clearly signaled that we were following 2 versions of Bernard at different points in time. But instead of one gripping central puzzle, Season 2 threw a bunch of confusing terms and plot threads at the audience. The Forge, the Door, the Valley Beyond, it was a lot. Like, too much. In Season 1, you had no idea there were 2 timelines until the twist hit. And that's what made the mystery so satisfying. You were just along for the ride, thinking it was one story. But in Season 2, the mystery wasn't about discovery, it was about decoding. And decoding while trying to juggle 10 different questions at once? That's just exhausting. Add to that the fact that a powerhouse character like Dr. Ford was gone, and suddenly the series felt like it had lost its anchor. Sure, we got new stuff, like the reveal of Shogun World, which was cool in concept, but it just added more layers without resolving the ones we already had. The result? A drop in quality that was obvious. The audience rating slipped to 76%. Viewership dropped to 1.5 million per episode. Fans and critics alike started saying the same thing. Westworld had lost its way. Then came Season 3, and this is where a lot of fans fully checked out. If Season 2 strayed a little from the show's original tone, Season 3 basically launched it into an entirely different genre. The Wild West Park? Gone. The Secret Maze? Gone. The mysterious AI hosts questioning their existence? Kinda gone too. Instead, we got a futuristic cyberpunk thriller. This time, the plot followed Dolores out in the real world, trying to take down a powerful tech corporation run by a guy named Sirach. His weapon? A super AI called Rehoboam, designed to predict and control the path of every human life. That control created a rigid, class-divided society where free will barely existed. Yeah, that's the new Westworld. Season 3 introduced a bunch of new characters, most notably Caleb Nichols, played by Aaron Paul. A lot of the hosts who had died earlier also returned, but this time they were essentially pawns in Dolores' master plan. Instead of guest versus host or park versus consciousness, we now had a global war about algorithms and social engineering. And while the themes were still deep, freedom, destiny, rebellion, it all felt disconnected. Fans were like, wait, if there's no more park and nothing Western about this, why is it still called Westworld? And fair point. The numbers reflected that confusion. Critics gave Season 3 a 73%, but the audience, just 62%. And viewership took a nosedive, down to around 800,000 per episode. That's more than a 60% drop compared to Season 1. Suddenly, HBO had a crisis on its hands. A super expensive series losing steam fast. Every season reportedly cost over $100 million. And at this point, the return on that investment was starting to look shaky. So when Season 4 rolled around, some people hoped that maybe, just maybe, Jonathan Nolan would bring things full circle. Maybe we'd go back to the Westworld Park. Maybe we'd reconnect with the tone and magic of Season 1. Nope. Instead of returning to the old vibe, Season 4 leaned even harder into sci-fi. This time, the story revolved around Charlotte Hale, who is now essentially a new version of Dolores, using genetically modified flies to infect and control human minds. Yeah, flies, with mind control powers.
Meanwhile, we follow Caleb, Bernard, and Maeve as they try to fight back against this creepy, predetermined reality and reclaim free will, not just for themselves, but for all of humanity. The emotional climax came when Dolores, who had spent most of the season with her memories wiped, finally remembered who she was. That moment kicked off a brand new game, this time set inside the Sublime, a digital realm full of AI consciousnesses, including a new version of Westworld. So, a little closer to the original concept? Maybe. But for a lot of fans, it was too little, too late. Critics slightly warmed up to this season, but fans? Not so much. Audience ratings hit an all-time low, and viewership? Devastating. Season 4 averaged just 350,000 viewers per episode. That's less than 1/5 of what Season 1 had pulled in. And that's when it became crystal clear. Westworld wasn't what it used to be. Not to the fans, not to the critics, and definitely not to HBO. Even with a massive budget, a star-studded cast, and the backing of a premium network, the show had lost its spark. It wasn't just about bad decisions, it was about a bigger shift in the entertainment landscape. Back when Westworld first dropped, it felt like an event. The mystery, the slow burn tension, the deep philosophical questions, it was bold, brainy TV. But as time went on, audiences started craving stories that were a little more grounded, a little less puzzle, a little more payoff. And in an era where there's a new streaming series every other week, keeping people hooked is harder than ever. So in the end, HBO made the only move that made sense. They canceled Westworld. And honestly, it's kind of a cautionary tale. Westworld started out as the next big thing. Big names, big budget, big ideas. But somewhere along the way, it drifted too far from its roots. Instead of building on what worked, it kept trying to reinvent itself. And in doing so, lost the very magic that made people fall in love with it in the first place. It's a reminder that high-concept storytelling is great, but only if you can still keep the audience emotionally invested. Because in the end, it's not the twists or the timelines that keep people watching. It's the connection, the characters, the heart. Westworld had all the right ingredients, but it's proof that even the brightest shows can burn out if they lose their focus. Anyway, if you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to Cut Club, and ring the bell so you never miss another deep dive. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one.